Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream. It has been a minute, so to speak. We haven't been live for, I think, more than a month, but we were very busy. It was the month of Ramadan, and we had some family stuff going on, so I had to attend to those things and obviously prioritize. But now the markets are seemingly coming back alive, and Bitcoin is sitting at $85,000. We had a massive dip. We're going to take a look at some support levels that we were discussing throughout the past few months. And we're going to take a look at those. We're going to take a look at some Twitter posts. We're going to talk about what's going on in the markets. Obviously, the tariffs were the main topic while I was away. So we're going to switch over to Bitcoin's chart real quick. And let me know if the audio is working fine. It should be working fine. Cliche, how are you doing, my friend? Very nice to have you. It's great to be back. Let's get straight into this. Hopefully you guys have been dollar cost averaging, but let's take a look at this screen that I have over here. All right. So this is the Bitcoin chart on the weekly. And remember, I kept talking about the 55 EMA as a strong support that we did bounce off of back in August 2024 and also back in June 2021. This was that massive correction in the middle of the 2021 bull market. That was a 55% correction. The current correction that we've had was only 31%. A 55% correction would have taken us below the 200 EMA, which is essentially bear market territory for us. But we bounced off the 55. I think this was a healthy move. We obviously removed a lot of short-term holders. All of the paper hands were selling at a loss. And I think people are getting smarter, though, over time. They are trying to buy when we have these massive corrections. It's not massive fear. However, the sheep will always outnumber the smart ones. So no matter the news, no matter how many times you repeat and you teach people, they're going to be selling at a loss and they're going to be buying when it's pumping. And I can bet you a lot of people that did not want to buy Bitcoin at $76,000 are now willing to buy at $85,000. So this bounce off the 55 EMA, in my opinion, is very healthy. It's very reminiscent of the 2021 correction here. I think this was a great opportunity to get in, and it's possible we're going to have a nice move to the upside into the year end of 2025. If I add the drawings here and I bring them back to the chart, you can see we also bounced off this ascending resistance trend line. Well, it was our resistance before. Now it's flipped to our support. So essentially, the bounce that we had in April 2021, the rejection in November 2021, that created this resistance that we broke past in November 2024. Now we back tested that level as support, and supposedly we completed this ABC correction. So we had this ABC correction, and this should be it for the correction of Bitcoin. But again, with the administration that we have in the office right now, even though it is pro crypto, it seems that every day there can be a piece of news that just dumps the markets. But I do think this is all a plan. I don't think they're stupid where they're not sure that this piece of news is going to affect the markets. I think either they wanted the markets to drop for a specific reason because they wanted some people to buy in to get into specific assets, or they just wanted a lot of fear in the markets and they wanted people to move from risk on assets to risk off assets and to invest into the US bonds. I think that's a very, very likely scenario, but we're not going to speculate too much. It is what it is, and Bitcoin will remain as always. And if you have any requests for altcoins, guys, let me know down below in the comments. Let's switch over to the other screen. All right, let's go to CoinMarketCap. 13.2 million cryptos. I remember in 2021, this was sitting at 7 to 10,000. 7 to 10,000. That is crazy. Let's switch over to this dashboard. So we're in Bitcoin season. The altcoin season index is in the range below 20. Let me just bring that up. There we go. So this is our index here, or 25 rather. Anything below 25 is Bitcoin season. So we might have a Bitcoin rally for the foreseeable future until we have a massive altcoin rally. And the consensus right now is amongst most traders and most analysts that I watch on YouTube and Twitter, and this is something that I think is a very possible thing, is that once Ethereum starts pumping, it will drag all of the altcoins up right behind it. We haven't seen an Ethereum all-time high yet in this cycle, so I think that is the next major thing that's going to happen in the markets. Until then, Bitcoin is going to be pumping. We might even print new all-time highs for Bitcoin. We might get to $150,000, which is our technical target for this cycle for Bitcoin. But as long as this is down here, this is actually good. Why? It's because we're very far down. When the alt season starts, we have a long way to go up. So we might have a good 2 to 3 months of an alt season, similar to the one that we've had here from December 2020 all the way into May 2021. And 2025, just to remind you, is supposed to be the last year of the 4-year cycle. So 2026 is supposed to be a bearish year. So I would suggest everyone lock in these last 8 months and you try to take profits where you can, and you try to not make any unnecessary or stupid decisions. And I'm going to try my best not to do that as well. It is hard sometimes, though. It is hard not to make stupid decisions. But taking a look at some indicators that we've talked about on our live streams in the past, this is the MVRV Z-score. And right now it is nowhere close to showing us a top signal. Bitcoin terminal price is something that called the top very accurately the past few cycles, so we keep an eye on that. The CBBI indicator, which includes 7 or 8, I think, multiple or even 9 indicators, hasn't even given us a 90 confidence. So the confidence was at 83 back in January, early 2025. And just so you understand, the cycle peak in April 2021 was, well, for Bitcoin at least, was at 96 or 97. And then the November peak, which gave us a new all-time high in terms of price, was only 81. So this is something that could happen again, but I do think we're going to be seeing a strong Bitcoin move sometime soon. I think once we have the interest rate cuts, that's when, or at least we are certain that there are interest rate cuts happening, I think Bitcoin will start going parabolic. And this is the Bitcoin current market cap, or rather the crypto market cap, 2.7 trillion. Let's go to the past year. Obviously, massive correction from 3.7 trillion, dropping down to 2.5 trillion. Lots of people got liquidated. There were people getting liquidated for $100 million, I believe. I've seen posts with some crazy numbers. I don't know why people are in those positions with those amounts of money, but this is the breakdown of the crypto market cap. So 1.69 trillion is in Bitcoin, almost 200 billion is in Ethereum. Stable coins are 218 billion, and then 597 billion, or almost 600 billion, is all of the altcoins. So this is the total 3 chart that we're going to take a look at right now. So this is the market cap of all of the altcoins, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. So I'm not sure why the screen... Let me refresh real quick. I'm not sure why it's not going full screen the way I wanted to, but let's go to total 3, and then we'll go through some news and we'll go through altcoins because there's a lot of altcoins to take a look at. Anyway, we're going to keep it like this. So if you take a look at this Fibonacci here that we've had from the bottom in July, August 2024 to the top in March 2024, we precisely got up to the second fib level. That was $1.1 trillion of market cap for the total three, obviously. And that was essentially a retest of the all-time high from 2021. And what we're all expecting is another parabolic move taking us to new all-time highs and potentially taking us to $1.78 trillion market cap or even a $2.3 trillion market cap. In the past, if you take a look at the cycles, this was the 2017 alt season. Altcoins went parabolic. This was the 2020 to 2021. Essentially for a year and a half, altcoins went crazy. And we had altcoins going crazy for the past few years, don't get me wrong, but we haven't seen that massive parabolic rise, which I think will be the blow off top for most altcoins and for Bitcoin as well. So just take a look at the total three chart. It's crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. And right now we're dropping, like we're below the 20 MA on the weekly, and we have to get back above that. We have to start pumping. And this is exactly what we're doing. If I remove this fib here, just to clear up the chart a little bit, you can see that we had a massive wick here. Everyone bought in, or not everyone, but hopefully most people. Dollar cost average at these lows, great buying opportunities for altcoins. And from there, we're moving up. So let me measure this move. We're up almost 20%. That's pretty impressive. So again, markets are going to recover very quickly, just like they drop in an instant, they recover in an instant. Go back to 2023. Remember what happened at the beginning of the year there with altcoins, with AI. And I do think we're going to have another AI wave. It's just a matter of waiting for the right catalysts. It's just a matter of the big boys wanting it to happen, because if the big boys don't want to let the markets run, the markets are not going to run, because the markets are run by the people who make the most or who make most of the money. So this is our total three. How do I get out of this then? Wait, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay. Just going to get out of here. Just going to do that. There we go. So let's go through some posts here. And this is a very bullish from Vivek. Someone just opened a $200 million long position. And by just, he means 3 days ago, because that was 3 days ago. But nonetheless, this is a massive position, $200 million. And long, that person must know something, or he likes to play it risky. Because $200 million, obviously for some people, it's just pennies. So maybe it's the case of someone not knowing what to do with $200 million and they just decided to go long on Bitcoin. That's a possibility. But this is definitely a strong sign from Bitcoin holders, from Bitcoin maxis. Another post from Vivek, and this is something that we talked about on Patreon. Obviously, we were doing videos on Patreon when I was gone from YouTube, but we were talking about the global M2 money supply and how it predicts the Bitcoin move. And usually there is a delay of around 10 weeks. Some people are saying 8 to 9 weeks, but we're just going to go and say 10 weeks just to have a nice round number. So 10 weeks, and it's possible that the Bitcoin pump is starting. So when the money supply drops, it takes around 10 weeks for Bitcoin to follow. When it pumps, it takes around 10 weeks to follow. So this is the logic that we're using, and supposedly it is starting right now. And the reason for that could align with the inflation going down, with Trump really pressuring the Fed to cut interest rates. That's a big thing he wants to happen. And lower interest rates mean there is it's an easier monetary policy. It's easier for people to get a hold of money, and loans are going to be more popular, and so on and so forth. And this will create more potential crypto buyers, right? When you have more money, when your taxes are going down and you have more money to spend, you might put that into the stock market, into the crypto market. That's what we've seen with the pump back in 2020 during COVID, when people had additional money. They had these, I'm blanking on the term, but essentially they had these checks given by the US government, and most of that money went into the markets, or at least a lot of that money went into the crypto markets. Because after that had happened, the market started pumping. So someone started buying. The retail were getting into the markets. So I think it's just a matter of time before retail starts buying in. I think once we get past $100,000, everyone is going to be like, whoa, we're pumping again. And by that point, we're already up like 50% on Bitcoin from the local bottom. But some things just never change. Now, this is actually a pretty bullish move from the Trump family crypto project, World Liberty Financial, and they just invested $775,000 into Say. So they bought $4.89 million of or tokens of Say. And Ondo, by the way, is doing great. I was giving everyone buying prices on Ondo throughout the correction, so hopefully some of you got in, at least the ones who were on Patreon. So let's take a look at Say. Okay. Yeah, so Say is recovering here. We're going to remove that fib. Going to go full screen. So this is what the chart is looking like. We can add a Fibonacci retracement. This is the weekly. So 1.618 retested perfectly here for Say. This was a perfect bottom to get into. So 13 cents, now we're sitting at 18 cents, a move of 35%. And I believe that's got at least something to do with the Trump family buying in, but this is still a good time to dollar cost average. The weekly RSI is very low. The daily RSI just recovered from the oversold. So if you want to start buying in right now, it's not as low as 13 cents, but still it is a good buying opportunity. It is still way lower than we were back in December 2024. So if you're bullish on Say, don't be greedy. If you think this project is going to do well, and I hear some YouTubers talking about Say, I personally am not involved in Say. I haven't bought any. I may in the future, but at the moment I don't have any Say. It could be a good time to get in before a pump, because the Liberty Financial, or whatever Trump's company name is, their crypto family crypto mafia thing, whatever they're buying into, they're not buying it into it randomly. There is a reason behind it. It's just that we don't know what the reason is. We may find out later, but it's definitely something bullish. So I would say it's a good thing for all the Say holders. Congratulations. And then for anyone who hasn't been to our Patreon, there's a 7-day free trial. You can get access to all of my 1,000+ posts on Patreon. That includes podcast episodes, low cap gems, trade alerts, my portfolios, etc. So definitely pay attention to the Patreon and check the link out in the description. Now, this is CZ, who is the crypto advisor to Pakistan, which is a revelation that no one was expecting. But essentially here he's saying the currency AI is going to be using isn't going to be fiat. They're going to be using crypto. So once AI becomes more mainstream and it's literally everywhere, their preferred method of currency, or their preferred currency rather, is going to be crypto, because it's easier, faster, cheaper. It's a no-brainer. So that's another good catalyst for crypto and AI and how they're both intertwined. And this is coming from the Tom Scott, who's the Senate banking chair. He announced that the market structure reforms are underway and said crypto legislation will pass by August. So by August, we will have crypto regulation, and that means a lot of smart money coming into crypto, because a lot of money is on the sidelines for the sole reason that there's no regulation. Once there's clear regulation and they know what's going to happen once they buy, what are the rules of selling, and essentially everything that they need to know, the way we have a legislation, or they have the legislation in the US with for stocks, right? For how that's taxed. They're going to work out a legislation for crypto. And once that happens, I think things are going to be heating up for the last quarter of 2024. It looks like it's going to be another cycle with a top in the end of the year, which happened 2 times at least now, or 3 times. What was the top in 2013? Was it at the end of 2023? Yeah, it was at the end of 2023. So literally every 4 years, the cycles peak at the end of the year. And having said that, my expectation was that there was going to be a peak in the first half of 2025 in March, April. But we peaked way early in January, December, and we had a massive correction from there. So essentially, I was expecting that correction, but I was not expecting it to happen this early. So I was blindsided by that, obviously, because lots of people sell in May and go away. Lots of people sell during the Chinese New Year. So there was a lot of confluence with April and May. We usually have corrections during or after those months, but it just played out differently. And this is the thing with the markets. You expect one thing, and then the markets do whatever the markets want to do. Now, with the CPI report, inflation is going down, even though it's not by a lot, but this is the forecast. So the forecast for March was 2.5%, but the actual inflation was 0.1% lower. That was 2.4%. This was obviously something unexpected by the markets. This is why we're seeing some upside. This is why there's positivity in the markets again. And the previous inflation percentage was 2.8%. So for the month of February, it was 2.8%. For the month of March, the inflation rate is sitting at 2.4%. So inflation is going down. This is a great thing. And this means that we are going to have more interest rate cuts. Some people are talking about 5 rate cuts in 2025. So let's look at the May 7th FOMC meeting expectations. We have a 60.2% for a no change and a 39.8% for a 25 basis points. So some things can still affect this before the FOMC meeting, but the general consensus is that the first cut is going to happen in June. So if we switch over to June, there is a 60 or a 70% chance of a cut and a 31% chance or 30% chance of a no change. So out of those 70%, 50% are expecting a 25 basis points cut, and then some are expecting the rates to be 375 to 400 basis points, because some of these people who are expecting, or some of these investors are expecting a cut here in May. So we're going to be getting a 25 basis points cut in June. And then if we go to July, right? So the June cut would take us to 400 to 425 basis points. Then in July, we're expecting another 25 basis points cut, taking us down to 375 to 400 basis points. So 3.75 to 4%. If we go to September, which is the next cut after that, it's still unclear here, but it looks like we're going to be getting a cut as well, at least according to the current numbers. Keep in mind, these numbers change all the time. Like, they fluctuate like crazy. Look at these fluctuations from the month of April back to the month of March. I mean, the changes are drastic, and they depend on the macro events that occur. So I'm not saying they're going to stay the same, but at least according to the current numbers, we're sitting at 39.5% of another 25 basis points cut, and some are expecting that the rates are even going to be lower at that point at 325 to 350. And then if we go to October, it seems that we're expecting a no change, and then in December, it's possible that we're going to get a no change as well. But we'll see. We're getting at least 3 cuts, June, July, September, according to the current numbers. And that's obviously a good thing because the economy is going to be feeling a little better. And that gives an upper hand to all the people investing or who have been investing into the risk on assets like stocks and crypto in the first half of 2025, because the second half is likely going to be very bullish. So that's pretty much it for the breakdown here for all the latest news. Hopefully you guys are doing great. Hopefully you have been getting into altcoins, because those altcoins had really good buying prices. Some of them are still sitting at very good buying prices. So Ondo is something that I covered on numerous occasions. And we essentially dropped down to the 786 Fibonacci at 68.5 cents. And now we're trying to climb back up. There's no saying if we're going to break above the 20 EMA, but the possibilities here are that we're going to be seeing a massive pump past the local top here, $2.16. And the reason I'm saying that, the reason we're going to be expecting a continuation of the trend is because the uptrend has been maintained. So we did not break below these lows from August 2024. Some altcoins did break, but because we kept the market structure where we have our higher highs and higher lows, the expectation is that the trend will continue. So yes, we might have a small bump here with a 20 EMA rejection and then another move to the upside. It may take a few weeks or even a few months to play out, but we are expecting further upside in the markets. And what I'm going to do probably right now is switch over to my other chart because it has way more indicators there. And I see Ross is asking for Ethereum. We're going to take a look at Ethereum as well. No worries there. Okay, well, they don't have Ondo here. Okay, so I'm going to switch over. Okay. So this is the ADA Cardano chart. We're going to go through some altcoins here and we're going to get to the requests. I just wanted to cover ADA. Elorm, how are you doing, my friend? Great to have you back. So this is the Cardano chart, and as you can see, what is happening here is that we're bouncing off the previous resistance. So if you take a look at the dotted triangle here, this is a symmetrical triangle that we broke out of back in November 2024 with that massive pump. We were expecting to get up to $1.72. That didn't happen. Instead, we ran into the same high from March 2022. That also lined up nicely with the golden ratio at $1.13. From there, we saw a massive correction of 60%, reminiscent of the correction that we had all the way back here in 2021. So this was the May correction. Another, it was like 58%. And then after that, we rallied and printed a new all-time high. So the confluence here is that not only it's the 200 EMA that is keeping us afloat, it's also the previous resistance. So this is very bullish from a technical perspective, because once you break through a resistance, you come back down, you retest it as support. That is your confirmation. That's where you buy in. That's your entry. And from there, we're going to continue the trend to the upside. So essentially, you confirm that this is no longer your resistance. Now it's your official support trend line. And yes, we may come back again and retest it in the future. But as of right now, it's doing what it needs to be doing. If we open up the oscillators, stochastic is in the bottom. The relative strength index has come down quite significantly back to the October 2024 level. So still a decent buying opportunity for Cardano, but I wouldn't be buying Cardano unless you want a safe altcoin. Or if you're looking for a short-term trade, even then I would not. I would have been buying for short-term trades. I would have been buying a week ago or so. And this is our good old Ethereum. So again, you may think it's a very bearish chart, but if you zoom out, it's actually not doing too bad. It's not doing too bad. On the monthly, essentially we back tested the 100 EMA on the monthly chart. So we broke below the 55 EMA, we broke below the 20 EMA. This is very reminiscent of the correction that we had here in 2022. I'm getting a lot of winter mute alerts from Arkham. But essentially, this was our bear market bottom for Ethereum after the top in December 2021. And then we lost the 55 EMA here very quickly, very rapidly. And this correction was, 63% correction. That's a massive, massive correction there. If I add the Fibonacci here, from that top to that, we're trying to hold the 0.786. If we close the candle above that, that's going to be great. But we were more so leaning towards the 786 at 1,365. Let's take a look at the oscillator. So the monthly RSI and the stochastic are very low. The monthly stochastic is in the oversold, guys. The last time we were in the oversold was back in February, January 2022. So this just goes to show that Ethereum is extremely oversold. If you want to be getting into this thing, now is a good time, but what are your selling prices? You have to have your targets ready and set to go. If you're buying now for the next 5-10 years, that's fine. But if you're buying right now with hopes of selling at the end of the year, then you have to at least have some understanding of where the price can go. You have to understand what the market dominance of Ethereum could be. Maybe take a look at the market dominance of Ethereum at the end of the previous cycle and then compare that to what it would look like at the end of this cycle. That way you can get a rough estimate of what the market cap of Ethereum could be when it's time to sell. And then also keep in mind all of the macro elements to this whole thing, because you can't be selling. Your strategy can't be based on numbers alone. If it's based on prices alone, you are going to be losing your money. You're not going to be able to sell. It's very rarely that you're going to be able to sell just by, predicting a number and selling at that number. It may play out that way. It may not play out that way, but to be safe, you have to have a lot of different indicators, at least the ones that I've shared on this live stream that I showed you, the MVRV, Z-score, the CBBI, the terminal price. These are some of the indicators that you want to be using. And then if those are flashing, Bitcoin top, cycle is over, then you have to be selling no matter the price. That's just a little, I guess, some pep talk for you guys. But we did break down from this symmetrical triangle, and a very quick recovery here would be fantastic for Ethereum. I don't know if we can get a quick recovery like that. Maybe something reminiscent of the early 2024 move here, from going up from $2,200 to almost $4,000. That would be great. And then, apologies. Another thing to consider is, we created a bearish cross again here on the weekly. The last time we did that was back, when was that? The last time we did that was back in June 2022 or May 2022. That was the confirmation of the bear market for Ethereum. But at that point, the entire market was dumping and, it was looking horrible. This time around, this could be a mid bull market correction, a 60% correction. The reason we didn't have a bearish cross here during the May correction in 2021 is because Ethereum got so overextended that, let's see what the correction was there. that the 60% correction that we got, by the way, this is the exact same correction, in 2021 only barely took us below the 20 EMA. But Ethereum hasn't been that bullish in this cycle. That's why 60% correction essentially dumped us below the 200 EMA on the weekly. And again, when we were below the 200 EMA on the weekly, that was the bottom for the cycle or the bottom of the bear market in 2022. So you could look at this from both the negative and positive angles, but if you're bullish on any altcoins, really, Ethereum is the key, because Ethereum has to be pumping for a proper alt season. So once Ethereum starts pumping and we may get to, let's say, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, at that point, altcoins would have also pumped, and hopefully you would have been taking profits at that point. So let's take a look at Jupiter. I don't think that's the right price or the right chart. Jupiter dollar. That's weird. Okay, is that it? Let me just double check. No, that's not the right chart either. I'm not sure why I can't get the right chart. Oh god, I can't type either. Let's do. There was a Uniswap one here. Yeah, so I'm not sure what the issue is. I think we're gonna have to switch over to. A different screen, and we're gonna take a look at Jupiter here. Let's go on to the daily. Yeah, so massive correction here for Jupiter. The top here in December 2024, $1.40, nasty 80% correction. If we go to the weekly, let's add a few levels here to keep an eye on. So this bottom here from July 2024 is probably going to act as a resistance level on our way up. So that's around 68 cents. So you could see a bounce from there when you're going up. That might be a nice area to either take some profits, but when we break past it, hopefully won't take a long time, but we're still very low, guys. We broke even below our listing price here. Or I guess the listing price was down there, 3 cents, but this was our first consolidation zone and we dropped below that. So that's not a very good thing. But as long as this has a quick recovery, this would have been a great buying price. So the Fibonacci here from the top in December to the bottom in July 2024 gave us a 34 cents at the second fib. So that was a great buying opportunity. And then the 1.618 was at 44 cents. You're still below the 1.618, so it's a great buying price regardless. But I would definitely keep an eye on this, and if you want to buy right now, sure, you can start building a position. There's no telling if we're going to be sitting at 80 cents tomorrow, because altcoins can recover very quickly. We've seen Jupiter pump quickly before. So in February 2024, from around 50 cents, we went up to $1.80. And since then, we haven't been able to recover. So we have this ascending resistance trend line here that is going to keep us down, and we're going to have to break past that trend line that could be our next major resistance after we break through 68 cents, right? And then we could have a massive pump at the end of 2025. That's just a possibility. But right now we have a great buying opportunity. There's no denying that. Look at the weekly RSI. And by the way, we haven't even been in the overbought yet in the cycle for Jupiter. Velodrome broke below rather the support trend line that we've had since 2023. Not a very good sign. Mantra has held its own incredibly well. We haven't even seen like a back test of the 20 EMA. That's how bullish it is. I'm not sure what the reason is behind that. Is someone artificially holding up the price? I don't know, but that's our massive support block here that we need to hold if we're going to be crashing. So between $4.23 down to $3.47. I ended up selling my Mantra from I think $3.4 to $4.5, and we got in all the way down here at 70. Where was it? Yeah, somewhere down here at 79 cents. So that was a good trade, but it did hold up very nicely. So very much impressed with Mantra. Be careful with the next move to the upside. Are we going to break past the all-time high? Is it going to be a double top? Did we already print the all-time high for Mantra? The reason I'm not getting into Mantra is because from this bottom here, we already got to the 1.618, 42,000%. So I rode out what I could from the 79 cents area to, as close to the target at the 1.618 as I could. But we continued pumping like crazy, and I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the top for this cycle for Mantra, and from here it just consolidates and then maybe has one last move to the upside, maybe barely breaks past the all-time high. But I don't think it's going to be getting to $30. That's just my opinion. Hopefully I'm wrong, because if we get to $30, a lot of people are going to make a lot of money. So I don't have anything against that. No worries, my friend. Always welcome. So let's go to the AI sector and let's see what's been going on. So let's go to 24-hour. So AOS up 31%. We mentioned this project on our Patreon. We mentioned it on our live streams. So if you were paying attention, you were dollar cost averaging throughout the correction, you would have been buying in. Cookie is up 17%. It is down quite a lot. We're sitting at a $45 million market cap, 10 cents. This is a great time to be getting into all of these AI coins because, in my opinion, they're going to have their run. And Pinlink is up to 90 cents. What did Pinlink drop down to? So drop down to 72 or 56. Yeah, it was around 56. So let's go to the past month. Yeah, 56, almost a 2x for Pinlink, guys. So congratulations to anyone who bought into Pinlink. And then you have projects like PAL, that's up 34% on the 7-day. Nosana up 14% on the 7-day. Node AI up 29%. Palm up 20%. This is something that I'm bullish on. I do own Palm. Destra, this dropped to like 10 cents. So around a 50% move to the upside already. AIXBT, and then where's 0x0? TARS hasn't been going up much. Altura, great entry point right now. Where is 0x0? So 0x0, Crypto God John has been buying a lot of that project. Is it a dot that I should use? No. What's that? How do you even... 0x. There we go. So Crypto God John has been buying a lot of these coins on because I'm getting alerts. And this isn't even listed anywhere. So the only place you can realistically get this is BitGet. The market cap is extremely low. The circulating supply is 86% of the total supply, which is great. They have a max supply as well. Top gainer pumping over. Let's go 1 day. Yeah, this thing is look at this pump that we've had. This was at the this was April 12th. So this was earlier today. We had this massive pump. Let's go to their Twitter page. And look, they have engagement. And once Alex Becker starts bringing this up again, it's going to be crazy. Another huge victory for crypto privacy and decentralization. Court lifts OFAC sanctions on Tornado Cash, marking a major win for crypto. So this was obviously a major thing back in January. So they're still posting updates, but they're not as frequent, which is understandable. The markets are crap right now. But anyway, that's another altcoin for you to look at. Another AI coin for you to look at. Near, I've been telling everyone Near is a great buy at $1.75. A lot of people are scared, obviously, so a lot of people didn't want to buy in. Veracity is up 33%. You can get into ICP if you really want a super safe altcoin, but I'm just going to stick to something that's going to have more hype behind it, right? Neural crashed down quite significantly, but I think Neural is a great pick as well. Solidius AI Tech, you can go for this one. Another safe one that you can look into is Bitensor. I do own Bitensor. Aether, another safer one, $250 million market cap. So these are the AI coins that I would suggest you guys start looking into. We have a lot of AI coins on our Patreon, a lot of low cap gem reviews. So if you want to see which AI coins I'm holding, which ones we're reviewing, which ones we're talking about, make sure to check out the Patreon. The link is down below in the description. I know most of you are probably on Patreon already, the ones who are watching live, but we're going to have people watching after this is uploaded to YouTube. So if you haven't been to our Patreon, definitely give it a try. So that's going to be it for this live stream. We're going to be back on our normal schedules now with weekly live streams on the weekend, and we're going to be getting back into the game essentially. Hopefully you guys are ready for this last period of this last section of the bull market. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe and have a great day.